Joined now by Texas Republican Mike McCaul, ranking member of House Foreign Affairs, and Congressman Mark Green, Republican of Tennessee, member of the House Armed Services and Foreign Affairs Committee. He also served in Iraq and Afghanistan. Thank you, gentlemen, for your service and for your time this morning.
Thank you, Julie.
I want to ask you first, Congressman Green, first of all, obviously there is no going back now. 13 service members have lost their lives as a result of this. Thousands are suffering in Afghanistan and here in the United States who have lost their loved ones. What is your reaction to the president's address to the nation yesterday, calling this mission a success?
I was appalled, Julie, and thanks for having both of us on the show with you tonight or today. I was appalled, very frustrated to see some of the things, again, blatant dishonesty, talking about giving warnings and doing a great exfil of all the people when in fact they didn't get started until the last minute. We know that. Handing lists off, they're suggesting that they never handed lists off. I have DOD personnel who've told me personally in a phone call that they handed the manifests of aircraft to the Taliban. I mean, just the continuous dishonesty from the president is infuriating to myself and many veterans like myself.
Congressman McCaul, your thoughts?
First of all, I'm proud to stand next to my friend who's an Afghan veteran. I thought it was very, he likes to blame everyone but himself for this decision. They're reporting that he's blaming now American citizens for not heeding the warning. Americans who have been left behind enemy lines now, and there are hundreds of them, hundreds that we have tried to get out over the last weekend, which was a nightmare, and the interpreters, which really never had a chance to begin with. I've been talking about this for months. I said this president will have blood on his hands, and now we have 13 draped coffins that came through Dover Air Base. We will have a lot of interpreters that will be killed by the Taliban because of this president's actions, and also a lot of Americans left behind. Finally, the schoolgirls on the 4 buses, 250 of them, young girls in the choir, Christians, had visas, had a plane waiting, and they actually got through the Taliban. It was our United States government that blocked them from safety, and now they are turned back into the hands of the Taliban. Disgraceful.
Speaking of those left behind, Fox has confirmed the U.S. has left behind also some 600 journalists and their families and staffers. These journalists were hired by the U.S. to promote democracy in the region. They worked for outlets like Voice of America and Radio Free Europe. And now the State Department is coming out with this quote today saying, "We did not forget about U.S. Agency for Global Media employees and their families, nor will we. They have served the United States. They have not only worked for us, they have worked with us. We remain keenly focused on getting them out safely." How could you possibly expect their families to trust this administration when they say that they will get them out safely, when the deadline has come and gone? The president chose not to extend that deadline, and they refuse to use the word stranded. The White House doesn't want to use the word stranded. These Americans, what else do you call them? How are they going to get out when the airports are they are abandoned, they are stranded? I don't care what word you use. That airport is not safe for them to get out safely. So then how are they supposed to get here?
So USAGM is basically an arm of the State Department, a bunch of journalists, kind of like Voice of America, that help our messaging abroad in Afghanistan. And the idea that the State Department would leave them and abandon them, as Mark said, behind enemy lines, their own people, shows you how messed up this whole situation is. I don't blame the intelligence community, they're right. I don't blame the military, they did their job. I blame the State Department, I blame the president and his politicos for weak leadership.
I'm going to get your reaction to the next topic. I want to get to Congressman Green in a moment. There is a growing number of Republican lawmakers demanding accountability, more than 50 of them calling for President Biden's resignation, impeachment, and or removal from office. Some also making similar calls for the defense secretary and the secretary of state. And while no Democrats have actually called for such action, several have been harsh with their criticism. They've referred to Biden's handling of Afghanistan with words like flawed plan, egregiously mishandled, and disaster. The question, though, is when will Democrats demand accountability? Congressman Green.
Sure, we need to make sure that our colleagues across the street understand the ramifications to them if they don't speak up. as the furor over this. I mean, 85% of Americans are upset that Americans were left behind. It's hard to get 85% of Americans to agree on anything, but they agree you don't leave Americans behind. Joe Biden has left Americans behind. So I think that fear amongst the people of our country is going to force these Democrats to join the call for his resignation. And it's pretty clear, his deception, he's either intentionally lying, intentionally misleading the public, or he's so out of touch with reality, the false statements that he makes about, no one was against the withdrawal, when we know for a fact that many at DOD were against the withdrawal this way. Continuous lies like that, or he's just completely out of touch. Either way, he has to go, and I think over time, as the voice of America gets louder, the Democrats are going to have to join us.
Congressman Green and Congressman McCaul, thank you both for talking to us. We appreciate you both coming on today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Julie.